Welcome back to the Funding Blueprint, the podcast where we dive into the real strategies founders use to build, fund, and scale startups from the ground up. I'm your host, Cece Nahaman, and today we're digging into one of the most common pain points for early stage founders: how to actually build a marketing engine that works without burning through your runway. Joining us is Desvernay, founder of Get to Revenue, a fractional marketing agency that helps startups move fast, grow smarter, and hit revenue milestones without the guesswork. Jean has spent over 12 years launching and scaling startups across the US and Canada, and now offers founders fractional CMO support and a specialized growth team focused on agile, ROI-driven strategies. In this episode, we'll explore how startup marketing can and should mirror the product development process. Jean's going to break down agile marketing frameworks, show us how to set OKRs that actually align across departments, and help you budget your campaigns like you're running experiments, not burning cash. Whether you're trying to find product market fit or scale your next growth channel, this conversation will give you a clearer roadmap to get there faster and leaner. Let's jump into today's episode. Jean, welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going? Elle from Seattle.
Yeah, we're so excited to have you here today. Alrighty, let's just jump right into it. One challenge that we see time and time again with early stage startups is that the founder often comes from a technical or more of a product background. They know how to build, ship, iterate, but when it comes to marketing, things can get a little fuzzy. It's not that they don't value growth, it's that the language and structure of marketing can feel a little disconnected from the product-centric mindset that they're used to. That's where an agile, developer-friendly approach can really help bridge that gap. So Jean, the question is, how do you help translate marketing into frameworks that make sense to developers and more of those technical founders?
Well, a lot of the founders we work with are coming from a technical space. Most of them are either like app developers, product engineers, and so on. And so we're already very familiar with agile development. So that makes it very easy for us to explain how agile marketing is going to work. But if you're not familiar with agile development, the best way maybe I could frame it is it's a process where you have a lean team of developers very focused on releasing product features very quickly, then get feedback from users, and then iterate based on that feedback. And iteration in product development means whether you keep, the feature altogether, whether you drop it completely, or if you tweak it based on what you learn. And so I would say that agile marketing follows the same principle. Instead of launching one big-ass quarterly campaign across like 8 different channels without knowing what's going to work and potentially blowing, tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars, we take a different approach. And in practice, that means that in the first sprint, the first month, we work with founders. We are going to test, for instance, Meta and Google search. Right? I'm taking a simple example. And we're going to run this campaign over a couple of weeks with a limited budget. And then we'll evaluate this campaign based on some very basic KPIs, for instance, cost per user acquisition or conversion rate. And from there, we iterate. And so just like in product development, in agile product development, we ask, should we drop this channel together because the cost per conversion is way too high and I don't think I'm going to be able to lower it effectively? Or is there maybe a realistic path where I can lower the cost per conversion if I tweak the creatives, adjust the campaign structure, maybe better segment the audience with a lookalike audience, for instance? And so just like with agile development, instead of building a product through continuous experimentation, what you're doing literally is to build a growth engine through continuous experimentation. And that's going to give you a marketing strategy that's very lean, very adaptive, very cost effective most of all, and that's going to help you get a growth engine that's really in line with your product market fit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Kind of building on that idea of making marketing more agile and approachable for these technical founders. Once you've started to bridge that gap, the next big hurdle is figuring out, like you were mentioning, where to really focus your efforts, especially when resources are tight for startup founders and you're still providing your product market fit. Startups need a clear, lean roadmap that really drives that real growth without, like you said, wasting that precious time or money. So when you are starting from scratch, when you're a founder starting from scratch, what is the best way to start to build that lean but effective marketing roadmap that drives growth? What are those first steps that founders should be taking?
Okay, so when founders approach us, the first thing we do during the first meeting really is to draft a roadmap, a marketing roadmap. We create a growth map to keep it simple, and our focus is just on short time horizon, 2 to 3 months max for a growth map. And that's because our main concern should be validating marketing hypotheses through data. And so if you want to understand how that works, it's a little bit like playing poker. When you're playing poker, at some point you're going to put the chips on the table to see the other guy's card. And with agile marketing, it's when you're building a roadmap, it's pretty much the same way. You're paying for data. And so typically we're going to break this roadmap over 2 to 3 months. And month 1 is going to be your testing phase. For instance, if you're launching a health tech oriented app based on monthly subscription, for instance, that will be your pricing model. You're gonna launch, say, a campaign across Meta, Google Search, and LinkedIn, and for each channel, you're gonna define clear KPIs. And if your cost per acquisition, for instance, is under $50, you scale the channel. If it's between 50 and 80, you iterate. And then if it's over 80, you just drop it entirely. And month 2 is basically your iteration phase. And you plan your next set of campaign based on what you've learned on month 1. And so every month becomes basically one continuous experimentation. It's a learning sprint, if you will. And when you approach marketing this way, you're gonna stay lean. So you're not gonna use too much resources, human resources, technical resources. You're gonna avoid overspending, and you're gonna build a growth engine that actually performs. So that's really what agile marketing is all about. So just to sum it up, don't plan over more than 3 months, and plan every month with some kind of experimentation to validate some KPIs. Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah, definitely. That's great. So once the founders have the solid marketing 3-month roadmap in place, the challenge becomes making marketing a natural, ongoing part of how the startup operates, not just an afterthought or a separate function. You've mentioned before that marketing should be treated like a product itself, iterative, test-driven, deeply integrated into the overall development process. So what does it actually look like to integrate marketing into product development from day one? How can startups build this kind of seamless collaboration between growth marketing and product teams?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. And it's really, I think the foundation for everything about agile marketing is the way we see marketing is, I think you should approach it as a core component of the product. So if you're developing an app, marketing is just another feature of that app. And essentially in practice, that means that analytics is the bridge between your product and marketing. So marketing isn't just about acquiring users, it's about shaping a product that fits them, retains them, and then drive growth. So my advice is whenever you're developing an app or web app, from day one, you should integrate and embed analytics. That means setting up, I don't know, PostHog, for instance, or Google Analytics 4, or Matomo. And if you're planning on writing, if you know you're going to run campaign on Meta, and you have a mobile app, that means integrating the Facebook SDK so that you can run it over the SCAD network and measure conversion on iOS. That means, for instance, layering tools like App Flyer, again, if you have a mobile app, or a Mixpanel for product analytics along with PostHog. And if you're in a very, that's a recent project we worked on. If you're in a very, regulated space like healthcare, you may also need, for instance, Segment to silo and manage first-party data to stay in a HIPAA compliant way. So the practical example of that, right, if you consider that marketing is a core component of your product, this is how marketing is going to help you evolve your product. Let's say you're writing a test to see, to improve your funnel, and you run a test to see whether a paid sign-up or a free trial performs better in your funnel. And so you're going to run that experiment over a couple of months, and you'll find, still related to the healthcare app example, you're going to find that GPs mostly go for the paid plan. They don't really need a free trial. They know what they need. They're convinced already. They heard about you. They sign up right away. While when you look at the free trial data, you'll find that nurse practitioners tend to opt out for the trial first. And that tells you that GPs is really your core audience and your beachhead market, and then your secondary market, your adjacent core market will be nurse practitioners. And so based on that data feedback, you're going to develop, your free trial with a set of available features that resonate maybe more with nurse practitioners than doctors, because that doctors are going to sign up for your plan right away. Most of them do. So this is how, marketing is going to help you make your product fit to your users and retain them a little bit better. So when you have like both team developers and marketers that work on the same set of data and iterate together, you really double down on agile development.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's great. And, it kind of brings me to my next question. With marketing deeply integrated into the product development process, startups can also face the challenge of possibly navigating an overwhelming number of marketing tools and channels. And so it's easy to get lost in the noise, especially when every tool out there in today's world is promising to be the next big thing to help your company grow. So, Gene, how do you help startups cut through that noise and choose the right tech stack and marketing channels, ones that not only support the experimentation, but also enable them to scale effectively over time?
Well, when it comes to building a tech stack, you do have to cut through the noise. And that's especially true today when, you have AI tools coming down the pipe almost on a weekly basis, if not on a daily basis. And so the best way is I usually break it into two parts. You get your channel stack, and then you have your analytics stack. That's really the main two components. So first, the channel. Well, you're a funder, so chances are you've done some research about, your potential customers. Whether it's you're launching enterprise level services software or a coupon app, you get some idea of where your audience reside online. And so you're going to take an educated guess and see rating, to relate to our previous example of the health tech app. That GPs and nurse practitioners and specialists may hang out in Facebook groups. on they might post on Reddit, they might network on LinkedIn, for instance. And so that would be your starting point. You don't have to be everywhere. Just start at the lowest hanging fruit when it comes to channel. Make an educated guess of where your potential customer reside online. And then for the second part is the tools. So, basic advice that makes a lot of sense, obviously, is don't jump right away into enterprise level tool like Google Analytics 360 or Amplitude. Just picking with free tools like PostHog. I'm a big fan of PostHog. It's really a wonderful platform. Or Matomo, which I think is designed by a French company. And if you need, as your need begins to mature, then you can layer up in complexity with Mixpanel for product analytics. Again, if PostHog is not enough, app flyers for marketing attribution if Google Analytics is not enough, and then jump into tools like Segment again if you want to manage data privacy and stay HIPAA compliant. So really, keep your analytics stack simple. I will say when you're starting to develop a product, you should keep your expenses for software and subscription ready to a minimum.
Yeah, and that kind of actually brings me right to my next point. Once you have selected the right tools and channels to experiment with, the next big question becomes how much to invest in those efforts. Spend too little, you risk inconclusive results. Spend too much, you might drain precious resources without a clear payoff. So that brings me to my next question. What's your framework for budgeting? Just enough to validate marketing hypotheses effectively, getting clear answers without wasting those precious resources.
Yeah, you have a multitude of approach to really build a marketing budget. But I will say, there's two easy approach to do it. One very simple and one that's a little bit more advanced. So I'll start with a simple one. If you already have a set of KPIs, like 2 important KPIs will be your cost per user acquisition and how many users do you need to validate in hypothesis. For instance, is Meta going to work out for us in terms of cost per conversion? You're going to say, okay, well, I need 50 users. After I reach 50 users for $50, I will know for sure that Meta is working out for us. And so you multiply $50 multiplied by 50 users, and that's $2,500. For testing Meta. If you don't have those KPIs, it's relatively simple. All you need is to reverse engineer it. So first of all, you need to figure out which channel you're going to test. And that's going to be, for example, for the sake of simplicity, let's say you're testing Meta. So you do a little bit of research about Facebook. Let's say you're a newbie, you don't know anything about advertising. You do some research online, and then you find out that, for instance, for a medical audience, your CPM is cost per 1,000 impressions. Your CPM is $30. And then after a bit more research, you discover that your average click-through rate is about 3%. And the last KPI you need is your conversion rate. And from there, I would advise to start with a conservative conversion rate of 1%. Easy figure. And that gives you an estimated costs per acquisition of, let's say $10. And or for the sake of simplicity, for example, let's say $100. So if your target cost per acquisition is maybe $50, after setting a budget of based on the data of $2,500, if you target, you're gonna see that as your campaign goes on over the days, your cost per user acquisition is going to go down to like maybe $50, then you don't need to spend the whole $2,500 right away. What you can do is pause the campaign, save a bit of money, and then restart the campaign with in a new iteration with different creatives, different campaign structure, anything that can really improve your that KPI of your cost per conversion. So in every case, whether you have the simple approach or if you reverse engineer your budget, the goal is not to scale. The goal is to learn, and you just need to spend enough to get a directional sense of whether or not you should scale your campaign, iterate, or maybe drop it altogether. So you're not really paying for results. You're not really paying for scale. What you're paying is for answers.
Yeah, definitely. And kind of in the same breath, setting those clear objectives and key results, those answers has become a go-to method for startups to drive focus and measure progress and grow. But while individual teams might be crystal clear on their own goals, a real challenge is aligning those objectives across the entire organization. Without that cohesion, you risk siloed efforts, conflicting priorities, and a fragmented company culture, all of which can stall growth and slow down execution, especially for early stage startups where resources are tight, every action counts. Making sure product, growth, HR, and other teams are all rowing in the same direction isn't just helpful, it is essential. So how do you recommend founders create unified OKRs that keep growth, product, even HR rowing in the same direction? What's some advice you can share on that?
So first of all, not everybody follows the OKR model, but I got used to OKR when I started marketing at Airbnb, and we always had OKR, and OKR was spread out across like every single department. So since then, I've always used OKR. And usually you're gonna have OKR if you have it, if say you have more than 5 or 10 people across like different departments. So the first OKR, usually you will have like 3 OKRs. And you have your first OKR, which is a company level objective, but specific, again, and measurable. Okay, it's a SMART objective. Like grow revenue by 30% in Q3. And from there, each team, whether your HR, whether your developers, whether it's your marketing team, is going to write another set of OKR, usually 1 to 2 OKR, but might directly contribute to this goal. So for instance, let's start with marketing. For marketing, it means, increase qualified leads by 20% so that we can reach that first OKR. While for the product, it means, improve onboarding conversion by 15% by testing, paid sign-up versus free trial, for instance, if you remember my example. And the key is a regular cross-functional reviews. So if you have your meetings every, your your company-wide meeting every Monday, you're going to review those OKR, and then just reminds everybody to really stay focused on this OKR so you can fill up you can reach that main company objective. So when you set OKR this way, you avoid everybody, no matter how small the teams are, you avoid everybody working in silos, focusing on their own OKR. You have this company-wide objective that allows everybody to collaborate and share metrics and review them together. And it's really a driver of focus, not just a formality. So I would advise, like even for yourself, set up some OKR. And by the way, OKR is objective and key results. Just in case you didn't know. So that's about it for OKR.
Yeah, That's great. I think people will definitely find that super helpful. I think it's a great organizational system, especially for founders, just
Yeah.
starting their journeys in their own businesses.
Yeah. And I mean, essentially, I think agile marketing at some point can ever be, a process for early stage startups. And it's something that can even be incorporated in very large marketing team.
Yeah.
When you have a companies of 5 to 10,000 people and marketing department of, 2 or maybe 300 people, you always have small teams. Usually you have like a small search team, you have a small social media team. And so if you implement those process of agile marketing, even across a small team in a bigger marketing department, you're still going to be very effective, and you're going to be able to reach your OKR on probably a leaner budget. So agile marketing really can be, it can be implemented not only on small, scrappy, early stage startup, but also on big marketing, within big marketing department. Sorry.
Yeah, definitely. Well, unfortunately, that is a wrap on today's episode of the Funding Blueprint. Huge thank you to you, Gene, for breaking down the marketing side of startup growth in such a practical and no fluff way. I'm sure our listeners will appreciate. From building agile roadmaps that actually match how startups work, to integrating marketing with product development, choosing the right tools, aligning OKRs across departments, and spending just enough to test what matters. Gene, you gave us a real-world playbook for how early-stage teams can move faster and smarter without wasting time or budget.
You're welcome.
If you're a founder trying to make sense of marketing while juggling a million other things, this conversation's a great reminder. You don't need to become a CMO overnight, but you do need a system that fits how you already operate. Thank you again for tuning in. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to check out Gene's work at Get to Revenue, as well as subscribe to our channel, share it with a fellow founder, and check out the Funding Blueprint for more conversations that help you build, fund, and scale smarter. Until next time, thank you.
So, thanks.